Hey guys, so today we're going to look at setting up the Icon Platform B Plus as the control surface for Cubase on a Mac. The B Plus is a pretty incredible unit and can be easily programmed to have almost limitless key commands. So we're going to do this by using the mackie control and generic remote protocols on Cubase. I'll also show you how to navigate those potentially hundreds of key commands pretty easily as we get through the video. Let's get into it. So as you can see, this is the Cubase overlay here. So it feels off like that. Yeah. So what we're going to look at first of all is the setting up buttons F1 to F8. They're going to be set up using the mackie control protocol. So you can get 8 commands, and if you're pressing the shift plus the F1 to 8, you can get an extra 8, so it's 16 in total key commands. Then we're going to look at fader banks 1 to 8 here and setting up those with the generic remote protocol. Let's look at how we can set up the F1 to F8 keys and their shift variation. You need to go into Studio Setup. That's under the Studio tab. Go to Studio Setup, and you need to. We're going to be looking at the mackie control and the generic remote protocols. So you got to open up mackie control. I've already got it set up with all my key commands in place. Okay, so you got to make sure that your MIDI input and output is set up correctly. I've got my platform B plus going through the platform M plus, so it actually comes up as M plus, but it's actually using B plus. So you just need to make sure that's correctly set up, the MIDI and out set up correctly for you. Once that's set up, it's just a matter of setting up the key commands as you like them. I won't go through all my key commands, but I'll just give you an idea of some ones that I like to use. As you can see, F1 corresponds to F1 here. I've got it set up for the quantize lengths, so F1 is going to go to the previous, F2 will go to the next quantize. Let's have a look at that. Okay, it's going to affect up here. Press F1, F2, just scrolls through all of them. It's fantastic. Another great one that I've set up is the fade ins and fade outs. If we just zoom in, I've got that set up. Zoom to select. You can see it affects the fade in. It can affect the fade out as well. Just adjusting those. Great function. Okay. So going back to that, as you can see, that's set up for F1 to F8 and Shift 1 to Shift F8. So that's all of those. So that's the first 16 key commands set up there. Now, as I was talking about earlier, the Platform B Plus has 8 fader banks, these guys. And you program those through the generic remote. So I've got this all pre-populated, but I can just delete all of that, and I can recall it pretty easily. One thing I need to mention is that you need to make sure that your MIDI input and output is correctly configured. As I mentioned before, mine is going through the platform M+. So to program fader banks 1 to 8, as they call them, 1 to 8, it's simply just pressing add and then learn and pressing the one you want it to be configured for. It's coming up as the MIDI address note number 62. I like to give these control names a name, so pad 1 is reflecting pad 1, and then every time you do that it'll be reflected down here, and this is where you input your key command, whatever you want the key command to actually be. You want it to be adding a track, you just do that. add an audio track quite simply. So to populate all 8, you just simply need to add continuously as you go, and it'll learn for each one as you press for each one. Just to give you a further example, let's do 2. Okay, so now we've set up all the fader banks, and this could be enough for most people, I guess. You've got this plus your 16 mackie control key commands, 24 key commands. That's enough. If you want to take it one step further, what you can do is simply add another page. So what we do is go add, and now we've got one page of 8, which we'll just call page 1, and then we've got the next page, we'll call that page 2. And what we're doing now is we've set up, okay, so we've got our first set of 8 key commands and our second set, and you can just keep adding and adding. Let's do 10 altogether, shall we? 6, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now we've got 10 pages of key commands, 8 lots of key commands on each page, which is great. You don't need to set up this section again, use just these sections. I haven't gone through and populated each key command just yet, but you can imagine, you can go and set that up as you would. Once that's set up, how do you go and access it? You press apply as I just did then. You can actually access them by going to the generic remote, which is a pop-up. There it is. And you can access all 10 pages of your key commands. So you've got essentially with this 80 key commands. Now at this point that might be fine and great, but you can actually set up your platform B+ so you can scroll all the pages, and the way I've done that is by setting up in the generic remote some static buttons, so I can go through all the pages quite seamlessly. I'll just import the one that I use, and what you'll see here is I've got 5 pages of key commands. That's all I need. You can go up to as many as you like, but I need this amount. Now you'll see that each page, the top 8 pads change for the commands, but the bottom 5 stay the same. And so the effect of that is that on the B+, I can scroll through the banks by using, I've programmed the save and revert buttons on the platform B+ to go up and down through the generic remote. So I'll show you the effect of that. So you can go through each page like that. So these static buttons need to be customized. Unlike the F1 to 8 buttons and the fader bank buttons, you need to actually go into the platform B+ software, the imap software. Now when you're using it, you use the uncustomized version is MCP control mode. To customize it, you've got to go into user defined
mode. For this, I basically adjusted 5 buttons that were unusable to me, which were the name, send, project, save and revert. I can find no use for those, so I wanted to customize them. So the best way to do that is just to customize them through Platform B imap, and it's just a matter of going in and setting them to notes that aren't being used. And once that's set up, it's set up. So the reason for setting up the static buttons was so I could basically access pages of the generic remote with the Platform B+. So I've set up, so you can go through each page like that. And so those were 2 of the static buttons. The other button was just to turn the remote on and off. Another button which I always use is the Edit VST button, so I can get instant VSTs up if I need to. The other button I like to use quite frequently is the ability to be able to turn inserts on and off. Very handy. So with these 5 pages, I've got 40 plus the extra 16, 56 key commands at my disposal, plus additional ones on the keyboard itself, and that's enough for me. But the sky's the limit with this. You could have as many key commands as you like, as many pages on the generic mode as you like. So with all those key commands, there's a lot to remember, and the easiest way to do that, I found, is actually to do a spreadsheet. And so what I've done is a spreadsheet which has, these are all the mackie key commands, mackie control key commands, and these are all the generic remote key commands. And just by having that printed up on a piece of paper in front of the Platform B+ helps you to remember it all. You don't need to do that, but it's something that helped me a lot to remember everything, because there's a lot to remember. And that is how you set up the Platform B control surface to have as many key commands as you like. I hope this has been helpful to you, and hope to catch you soon. Cheers.